You do not have to pay back any money that you raise from venture capitalists. And this is a very common point of confusion because there is something called venture debt, which is strictly debt, but most venture capital is structured as equity. What this means is when a venture capitalist invests in your business, they will write you a check and you are going to issue more shares of your company. That's called dilution. And you sell those shares with the check that you were writing them. So they're effectively buying a percentage of your company. It's not quite as simple as like you selling a percent because usually you're not selling founder shares, except in some weird edge cases because venture capitalists want certain legal protections. I can talk about them more separately, but it's strictly not debt. You don't have to pay it back technically. Now, there is something called a convertible note, which you'll sometimes see at an early stage. Those are really, really rare, especially now. Most things are on what's called a safe. Convertible notes, I saw a statistic, it's like 10% of early stage fundraising rounds. So that is actually a type of debt too. The only reason this matters is it's in terms of what's called the preference stack. So if you sell the business, venture gets paid back in a liquidity preference. I have another video on that and how the waterfall distribution works. However, these are all things like you're still, if you liquidate for $0 and venture capitalists own equity of $0, they get nothing back. Nothing is paid back. They are at zero. And more importantly than that, debt is senior to equity on the preference stack. So if you take a loan out from a bank, the bank will get paid back before venture capitalists. So if you liquidate, the bank gets paid back first, then the equity. But it's possible there's some other stuff on the preference stack, whatever. And then the founders at the bottom of the pref stack. If you sell for a lot of money, you don't end up paying back any of that because usually people will just take a conversion to the direct distribution. Like you convert your oh my goodness, you convert your stock and then you get paid out on basis of your stock. So yes, you are technically paying it back at some point in time, but in the case of this comments on a video I made about Lovable, if they raise $330 million, it will not accrue interest over time. There is very little downside for a company if you are profitable of taking venture dollars, because it's basically like, in some cases, just a loan without any interest, without any recourse, and you can even sometimes just buy people out directly if you don't spend that money. And this is also why there's a funny thing where sometimes people will raise really big seed rounds and just like let it sit in a bank and accrue interest. And it's rare, but like if you're getting 4 or 5%, which there are banks that will give you 4 or 5% on your venture round, you can reasonably cover a decent amount of your salary, a decent amount of spend with just the money you have in the bank. Anyways, venture is not debt, different asset class. We can talk about venture debt separately. That's a really funky one. It's a funky concept, and it's not super relevant for most people. But yeah, hope this helps.